You're listening to Pombo and Peter's Picks, the home of your favorite sports betting podcast. Presented by The Daily Goat.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pombo and Peter's Picks. I'm Jason Pombo with Peter Alves as always. Peter, this is our second episode of the week. What do you think?
I know. Listen, if you're not tired of us yet, I mean, if you're not tired of CTW, you can 2 episodes of us, so it's fine.
Well, look, it's a big week for both us and CTW. They had their Battle of the Interstate that was released on Tuesday. We were all involved in it.
It's true.
It was a fun time. And secondly, it's a big week in wrestling too. They have that was it Crown Jewel, whatever it's called?
Yeah, in Saudi Arabia on Thursday.
Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So like that's a big deal. And then for us, we had the NBA start on Tuesday. And of course, the NFL is always full of news and action. So there's just a lot of things going on. And
people in the hockey world are pissed that we didn't break down hockey.
You know what, Peter? We kind of just missed the bus on that one. But
I can't.
Maybe it's tough though, because like we try to fit everything in a specific time frame once a week, typically under 60 minutes. And the NFL world just predominantly rules the world.
Well, I mean, now, this time of the year sucks because like
it's MLB,
tough. NBA, NHL,
and it's not even
football,
like exactly.
NFL.
And tell you what, like if the Red Sox weren't in the playoffs, we would be so hot and heavy over baseball right now. Probably not.
It's true. But
the point is, so like trying to balance everything. We'll get to NHL though. We will get there. We're well aware of the Seattle Kraken and their fiasco down there and just everything. How about what's the guy's name? It was a Kane, right? You got suspended 21 games.
Yep.
Fake COVID license thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an L on top of L. But I guess we'll save that for a story for a different day, Peter. So let's get right into it. Week 6, right? We felt pretty good. Both of us, Peter actually texted me and he said, we're going 10-0 this week. He texted me Thursday night after the Eagles covered against the Bucs. He was that confident. That didn't come to fruition, unfortunately for me. I went 2-3. My lone thing's correct with the Eagles +7 over the Bucs.
You're so lucky on that too, on the 2-point conversion. I texted you right after that. I was like, let's save it.
Nick Sirianni. And my second win was the Packers -4.5 over the Bears. My losses, on the other hand, were I had the over for the Chargers Ravens over 52. The Chargers offense didn't show up, hence the under hit. I had over 55.5 for the Washington football team and the Chiefs. And the Chiefs ended up winning that game pretty handily. The Washington offense didn't get anything going. The under hit. And then I had the Panthers +1 over the Vikings, and the Vikings won in overtime, which we'll get to later on in the show. But how about yourself, Peter? 2-3 for me. It's a pretty lukewarm performance. I'm not happy.
I feel that. Listen, after the Jags won in London, I was like, oh my God, we're going to go 10-0. But obviously that didn't happen. So I went 2-3 also. I got the Jags +3.5 and the Chiefs -7.5. And the lost Chargers +3. They didn't show up. Cowboys -4. They're the luckiest team ever to cover that game. I thought that was a lock after overtime, and then Bills -5.5. We'll get into that later, but Josh McDermott screwed me.
So like you said, Peter, we had high hopes and we ended up not living up to expectations, but lucky for us, we got a whole nother week of football here. We feel pretty confident about our picks. And one thing I want to
I'm not confident this week. This week's terrible. 6 teams on a bye, and like half the spreads are like over 10. Like, no.
Speaking of spreads, so I have 2 things to mention. One, the NFL was all favorites won last week. It was absolutely crazy. You know, they all covered, they all won. It was just something that probably screwed Vegas. So take that into consideration when we make our picks for this coming week. And also on a side topic, we survived another week for our survivor pool. I had the Green Bay Packers over the Bears. Big W for me. And Peter had the
Chiefs over the Washington football team.
Yep. So
I want to talk about the Packers real quick because we're not going to talk about the Packers. I think that Aaron Rodgers is a big hardo, saying that I own the Bears. Like, obviously you own the Bears. You've lost 3 times to the Bears since like 2006. Yep. But I want to hear you say that like in NFC Championships games where you like choke away like all the time. And then
Peter is on Rodgers' neck right now. You know,
no, I'm in a bad mood today. So
I wonder why. But the Packers, I mean, I I don't want to say I had the utmost confidence in them heading into 2021. But the last couple games, they've rounded into form. They've played better defensively. Their offense has gotten together a little bit. And again, I'm not putting them on the pedestal of like the Bucks in the NFC. But I do think it is notable that they have stuck together and they haven't completely collapsed as of yet. Now, that is always subject to change, of course, Peter. Like
Listen, we'll just see in the playoffs because they're going to win the NFC North pretty handily. So.
Yeah, you would think so. All right, Peter, let's just go over some notable games of week 6 in the NFL. First and foremost, I think we start off with the Cowboys and the Patriots. It ended up being one of the most highly rated games in the NFL in the last decade. I believe CBS tweeted it out. I believe they were the third highest rated game in the last 5 years or something crazy like that. And it was an absurd number. But the Cowboys ended up winning 35-29, and it was a back and forth affair. I was there. It was probably one of the craziest games I've ever been to in my life. It was just so back and forth, and it was absolutely nuts. So Dak Prescott, he led the way, 36 of 51, 445 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick, at a quarterback rating of 108.7. In terms of Cowboys receiver options, Amari Cooper was mostly held in check, but CeeDee Lamb was awesome. He had 9 receptions for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Zeke Elliott was also lethal out of the backfield in terms of catching the ball. He had 7 catches for 50 yards on 9 targets. Patriots, on the other hand, Mac Jones, he was efficient, 15 of 21, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Mac Jones looked like he had the W after he launched a 70-yard touchdown pass to Kendrick Bourne with a little over 2 minutes to go. And Kendrick Bourne, who was somebody that I thought would eventually get more targets in this Patriots offense, only got 2 targets in this game, but one was a big one for a 75-yard touchdown. So other news for the Patriots, Damian Harris, he had over 100 yards rushing. He had 18 carries for 101 yards and a touchdown. So Peter, this game was nuts, absolutely drunk. So what was going through your head when you were watching it? I mean, I was all over the place.
So obviously at that touchdown, I was like, oh my God, we're going to beat the Cowboys.
Wait, which touchdown? The one to Bourne?
Yeah, the Kendrick Bourne touchdown. Well, back up. The pick 6 to Trayvon Diggs, I was like, all right. The Magic's run out. I was like, all right, we lost. That's fine. Yep. And then he threw that touchdown pass to Kendrick Bourne. I was like, oh my God, we're actually going to win. And then obviously they didn't. But that's the old Patriots. They would have won that game handily because Mike McCarthy doesn't know how to coach. You're ultimately right. He's going to be saved by that 14-3 record at the end of the year. I mean, Dak Prescott in the end zone fumbles the ball. I mean, the interception at the end.
Yeah.
They should have scored 40, 50 points. They lit up the Patriot defense. I don't know who this new Patriot defensive coordinator is. If it's Steve Belichick, he's got to get out of there. Bill Belichick has to take it over. I'm tired of 3rd and 20 or the 3rd and 26 play. How do you
got 3rd and 25 and they got 24 yards?
Yeah. How do you get CeeDee Lamb to get 25 yards?
So the play call for that specific play, when you look at it from the NFL All 22 version, it was Jalen Mills. He had a real tough assignment. He had one-on-one right up in the middle. So they had Devin McCourty
just
way back
up though and just make the tackle.
But I mean, I didn't like the coverage itself because they had too many defensive linemen and linebackers on the field. You had, for example, Matthew Judon. I don't believe he should have been on the field for that instance. You had guys like Kyle Van Noy. I think you should have been more of a coverage that included all guys in your secondary. But to be fair, the Patriots came into this game with a limited secondary. They didn't have many bodies. Jonathan Jones is clearly banged up. Justin Bethel got banged up in the game. They didn't have many options to go to, which I think warranted that coverage. But all around, it was a bad play call in the end. You really can't excuse that. Getting 24 yards on a 3rd and 25 to set up a field goal was real bad, and it ended up costing them the game. At that point, I thought the game was over. I thought the Patriots had a golden opportunity after the touchdown to Bourne, like you described. And the defense has let them down now in about 3 or 4 games. You could argue the Miami game with the Devontae Parker slants.
They just can't get any stops. Anytime.
Exactly.
No stops.
Was it when you need a stop? They just haven't been able to get it yet.
I'll give them credit, though, because they're on the field for 35, 40 minutes.
Gosh, yeah.
The
Mac
offense
Jones,
had 15 plays, I think.
Exactly. Mac Jones, I believe he had I think he attempted 8 passes in the first half. I think he was 8 of 8 which is crazy. I mean, in the first half, 8 passes. Like that's a very, very small, minute number in today's NFL. They were on the field a ton, and I'm sure they were exhausted. They were beat down, and at the end of the day, they allowed 35 points, and the Patriots should have came away with the victory. Mike McCarthy did everything he can to lose the game, and Mike McCarthy sucks. Like I've been telling you, Peter, since week 1, I told you that, right?
It's true. Kellen
Yeah,
Moore and Dan Quinn should just be like, Mike McCarthy, you're not calling any plays. Just
Like-
get out of my way.
That Cowboys roster is loaded on both sides of the ball. They have playmakers offensively, defensively. They have a real quarterback at the helm, real skill position players, a real secondary, a real front seven, offensive line, running back. They got it all, Peter. It doesn't matter who they have. They aren't winning shit. They are not with Mike McCarthy. It's just as simple as that. They have a ceiling with Mike McCarthy. Now,
They
I don't
might
know if
win the
that's-
1 seed, though.
Yeah, sure. That's all fine and dandy, but they are not winning a Super Bowl. And I would wager that they won't make a Super Bowl. Whether they get to the NFC title game or the divisional round, that's up for debate, and I'm not debating that. But my point is they are not winning a Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy. They just aren't. Game awareness, awful. Those 4th downs that he should have went for, abysmal.
Oh, if you want to say that, I mean, Belichick should have won that 4th down and overtime.
But here's the difference here, Peter. I understand what you're saying. That 4th and 3 call with rookie Mac Jones. You have Dak Prescott, who has been absolutely destroying this Patriots defense. They had nothing on him, absolutely nothing to stop him, and yet he's going to go out there and kick with Greg the Leg 50 yards 3 times in a row. Like I hated his play calls. I hated the decisions, I should say, on that whole aspect of it. His teams aren't disciplined, which was clear, and it's just as simple as that. I was very critical of Bruce Arians last year until he won a Super Bowl, and Bruce Arians wasn't going to win a damn thing until Tom Brady was his quarterback. So
I don't think Bruce Arians is this bad.
well, Bruce Arians is pretty bad, but no, he's not this bad. But you look at Bruce Arians and Mike McCarthy, I think they're similar coaches until they have that good quarterback play, and all of a sudden they are elevated. It's a real shame, though, for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, because if they had a real coach, even if it's I'm not saying Bill Belichick or anything, but even if they had somebody that is competent, right, they'd be fine. And they're ultimately not gonna reach their goal of a Super Bowl.
Hey, maybe they'll get Jason Garrett back. Because Giants are blowing it up. Giants are going to blow it up.
McCarthy's going to go 12-5, 13-4, right? And they're going to make the playoffs, and McCarthy's going to have his job. Exactly what Jason Garrett did for a number of years. He was able to do enough to keep his job. But at the end of the day, I just have a feeling that, well, I shouldn't say I have a feeling. I know they will not be hoisting a Lombardi trophy anytime soon. Dak Prescott's legit, though.
If you're Mac Jones, you got to take out life insurance. He's getting. I know the offensive line is in shambles, but he's getting killed.
Yeah, and you know what? The line played
Killed.
better, in my opinion. The one thing that I'll totally grant you on is that so Yadni Kajust, backup tackle, completely got destroyed by Randy Gregory, and Mac Jones literally got decapitated. Like literally got decapitated. I was like, my first reaction was, oh crap, he just broke his ribs or something like that, concussion, whatever it may be. But you got to give the kid credit. He's getting up time and time again after these awful hits. So the toughness is there. He's willing to sit in the pocket and take a hit. We've seen that numerous times. So you got to give him credit for that. But hopefully the Patriots offensive line can get a little bit healthy each and every week. Isaiah Wynn wasn't ready to play. It was clear he was bad. Trent Brown, he's not going to play this week. There's a chance he plays next week.
Trent Brown's never
which would
playing
help
again.
them. I mean, I thought he was going to play sooner, but he clearly had a setback. David Andrews played better in this game. Ted Karras has been better after starting the year on the bench. I think he's eventually probably going to end up staying as a starter. Michael Wenu, I think they should just make him a tackle. I would just, when everyone's healthy, this is what I would do. Trent Brown at left tackle. I'd keep Ted Karras at left guard. David Andrews at center. Shaq Mason at right guard. And then a right tackle, I would do Michael Wenu. I think Isaiah Wynn, it's time for him to sit the bench. Despite the fact that he had that 50-year option exercised, he's just not it, man. He's just not it.
Yep. But if you want to hear the positive side, listen, Justin Herbert went 2-5 with the Chargers to start off his career. So maybe next year will be the year that Mac Jones and Bill Belichick can figure it out. So it's not their fault, but it's getting real bad.
No, it's not its fault. But yeah, I think Mac Jones has looked better. You want to look at all the stats, the advanced metrics, whatever it may be. Mac Jones is by far the best rated rookie quarterback in the NFL. I think if you look at them in terms of being accurate, putting up some points, Mac Jones has led each category. And according to Pro Football Focus through 6 weeks, Mac Jones has a grade of 79.7. Second is Zach Wilson at 59.4. Then it's Trey Lance at 59.0. Trevor Lawrence at 56.8. Davis Mills at 56.3. And then Justin Fields at 56.0.
Justin Fields is below David Mills. That's a joke.
I don't think Fields has played that well. I mean, but I think Mills is his is probably inflated from that Patriots game that he played really well at. But despite that, I think Mac Jones has played the best in terms of rookie quarterbacks for week 6.
For sure.
All right, Peter, let's move on here. Panthers Vikings, right? This was a game that I felt that the Panthers needed to get back on track. You did as well. You've been pretty low on Sam Darnold and company since they started their slide, which is now a 3-game losing streak. They lost in overtime to the Vikings, 34-28. Kirk Cousins has been severely underrated this year. 33 of 48, 373 yards and 3 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook finally getting back in action. He ran for 140 yards. On the other side of things, Sam Darnold, he struggled again. 17 of 41, 207 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He was sacked 4 times, which was clearly notable. Another game without Christian McCaffrey. Chuba Hubbard was the lead rusher, 16 carries for 61 yards. Darnold also had 48 yards on the ground. So the Panthers, like I mentioned off the top, have lost 3 games in a row. I said the Panthers would make the playoffs. I said they win 9 games. I think they'd go 9-8 and sneak into a wild card. I'm not ready to totally write them off. This offense is clearly missing Christian McCaffrey, but Darnold has to play better. Since his last 3 games there, he's struggled mightily.
Listen, I think the Panthers are going to make the 7th seed, and I hate the Panthers, but I think that Sam Darnold is turning into the Jets Sam Darnold. But in his defense, how many drops did he have on week 6? Like 11? Like Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore can't catch anything.
I think Robbie Anderson was targeted like 11 times or something.
And if you're Matt Rule, like you can't have that. But on the other side, the Vikings, I think the Vikings are pretty good. I think they're going to compete for a wild card spot. But again, on their side, I don't get their play call either. If you have Dalvin Cook, right, and he's quote unquote hurt, why do you run him 30 times? If Alexander Madison,
because I think here's the thing with Mike Zimmer. He knows the clock is ticking and his job expectancy, and the Vikings are a team that I think need to make the playoffs or that complete operation is going to blow up. So I think Zimmer is playing in the win now mode. He knew he needed this game. He knows he needs Dalvin Cook to win. Cook said he was good enough, and Cook, he played well. He averaged 4.8 yards a carry.
He's just going to get hurt again.
Yeah, I mean, crap. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. But I think Cousins has played well in that Vikings offense. And that Osborne kid that they have, I think he's played really well. He's been quiet after the first couple games of the season, but KJ Osborne, he had 6 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown, including the game-winning touchdown. So I'm not happy with Darnold's performance over the last couple of weeks. I think the offensive line has not played well. The run game hasn't helped him, but he has also made some bad decisions, and I think the receivers also haven't helped him.
For sure.
So Sam Darnold, he needs another bounce back. Truth be told, we'll see if Peter's going to pick him.
Listen, they should be able to get a bounce back this week. Not to spoil it, but they're facing the Giants, and the Giants.
You would think so.
Terrible.
It's in New York, and the Giants have their back against the walls. Tell you what, Peter, from a Panthers supporter like myself, I do not think that's a gimme. I truthfully don't. It wouldn't shock me the
slightest. You don't want Joe Judge to get fired.
Why do I want Joe Judge to get fired?
I said you don't want Joe Judge to get fired.
Oh, that is true. I don't want Joe Judge to get fired, but I really think this Panthers team is not playing well on both sides of the ball. I wouldn't. You'd really be surprised if the Giants, if the Giants won 20-17, that would totally surprise you.
No way. But I mean, their whole team is injured.
Oh yeah, that's true. But Daniel Jones has played a little bit better. I think Saquon's likely out, which impacts the offense immensely. Darnold needs to win this week. Simple as that. If they lose to the Giants this week, I might be out on Carolina. I might. We're going to have to reassess at that point. Another crazy game of week 6, right? Bills, Titans, the Monday night football game, kind of lost in the ruckus because the Red Sox were on. So a lot of people were probably tuning into that, but
not really. Baseball is not popular.
Fair enough. But
that's just maybe
the people that listen to this podcast.
And I love baseball.
Maybe the people that listen to this podcast, right?
Oh, for sure.
Red Sox supporters. But nonetheless, the Bills, they fell to the Titans 34-31. Josh Allen, 35 of 47, 353 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Ryan Tannehill, on the other hand, he didn't have his best game, 18 of 29, 216 yards, and a pick. But Derrick Henry continues to be awesome. 20 carries, 143 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Peter, count them 3. A.J. Brown was a huge factor. 7 receptions for 91 yards on 9 targets. He was awesome in this game again. The Titans, right? They were in this game the whole entire way. They were in it, leading at times. They scored late, and the Bills had an opportunity to tie or to win the game, right? It was 34-31, and Bills are driving. Josh Allen's moving the ball down the field. Mike Vrabel is not calling any of his timeouts as the clock is ticking down under 60 seconds. And it was similar to what Bill Belichick did against Pete Carroll in that Super Bowl in 2015. I think that was the thing I immediately thought of. Vrabel was putting all the pressure on Buffalo's offense to do what they do. And I think in the moment, people were like, Vrabel, like, what are you doing, man? Like, Allen's just going to get a touchdown. You're not going to have any time left. But Vrabel took a gamble and it paid off because ultimately the Bills failed to convert on a 4th and 1. Instead of kicking a field goal to send it in overtime, Allen slipped on a quarterback sneak in 4th and inches. And they failed to convert, and the Titans won 34-31. It was a big win for the Titans. They moved to 4-2. And the Bills, they fell to 4-2, which was, I think that was a pretty decent loss for the Bills because I think a lot of people were expecting them to pull away in the AFC to get that number 1 seed. And they kind of let other teams a chance to creep in, including Tennessee itself and Kansas City, which got a W.
It's true. It's low-key huge for the AFC East, but we're not going to get into that until we have to. But I mean, I think Josh McDermott got exposed. I don't know why he didn't kick the field goal in the 4th quarter. I really don't. I think he got too cute because if in your eyes, if you have a top 5 defense, you can stop the Titans. I know you didn't all day, to be honest, but I think you can stop them. If you really need to stop, you can do it. I don't know. I think the Bills got exposed.
I think the Bills defense got exposed too. I think after literally last week, I was talking about how the defense was phenomenal, this and that. I don't necessarily love the play call, the 4th and inches. I mean, Allen, I understand he's a big 6'5" guy.
Or even the 3rd down play where Josh Allen ran to the right and got almost killed.
Oh, you mean did he miss Cole Beasley wide open him for a touchdown, but Josh Allen had to do it himself? Nobody talks about how Josh Allen's so self-absorbed like that. Of course.
Well, I don't think he's that. I don't think.
No, maybe self-absorbed is the wrong way to describe it, but Josh Allen wanted to do it himself.
Oh, for sure.
And that cost him a chance to win because Cole Beasley was wide open for a touchdown. If he wasn't in for a touchdown, he had the 1st down. So,
well, we got to talk about the Titans. Is Derrick Henry going to win MVP? I think so.
No, but he's been
really?
Awesome. He's proven me wrong. No, I don't. I still think the quarterbacks are doing too much. He's been awesome though. I thought he was gonna. I don't want to say fall this year, but I thought the carries over the last 3 years would start to really get at him, but that hasn't been the case. He's been awesome. And the Titans have needed it because Ryan Tannehill has not played well this year. The offensive line in Tennessee hasn't played well this year. And Julio Jones has simply been a bust. In 4 games, he's only had 15 receptions, yet to catch a touchdown pass. And it looks like Julio is cooked through 6 games.
Oh, Julio is a big bust.
And that's not good for this Titans offense, who are really banking on him as a complimentary piece to put alongside A.J. Brown, who's also been dealing with injuries this year. Remember, I don't know if you saw last week, but the Titans had like 30 guys on their injury report. Or whatever it was, 20 guys.
On like Wednesday or something.
Yeah. The Titans are banged up. And Julio Jones, who is also banged up, is not producing, which is not good. Overall, though, Derrick Henry, you got to tip your cap to him. He's legit. And I'm never going to doubt Derrick Henry for the remainder of the year because he is single-handedly carrying this team in this offense.
Right. I mean, I think he's going to get 2,000 yards easy. He already has 10 touchdowns, which is crazy. Trying to find a stat. I'm pretty sure I saw a stat that like he has more touchdowns than like the Jaguars or something.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure
like by
about
himself or something. I can't find it.
I don't think he's. Yeah, no, I totally buy that. And I don't think the Jaguars are the only team either.
Yeah,
I really don't. No, but Henry's been great. And when you have a team that is underperforming offensively and defensively in other parts, you need guys to step up. And Derrick Henry stepped up. This Titans team, forecasting them long term, I still think those flaws are too big to overcome. The offensive line is real bad. Tannehill has not played well. The defense has not played well. But I still believe that they can win some games, and I still have them as the favorite to win the division. I know you think the Colts can kind of come out of nowhere here, right?
Yeah, they still got a chance. That division's so bad they can rack up wins on everybody else and figure it out versus.
I think they can still. I think they still have an opportunity. And I think Tennessee also plays really well at home. I think that's something they have really going for them. And look, if Tannehill can get somewhat time in the pocket and he can make somewhat of the right decisions like he was doing last year and the year before, Titans will be back in business. But until I see that, I still can't see the Titans doing anything, especially getting more than 10 or 11 wins.
Yeah, they'll get bounced out of the first round if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I exactly. Like, that's just where I see it too. NFL topics you want to talk about. So maybe we'll save. So I know spoiler alert. We're going to bring on Matt Cunha later on in the show to talk about the Red Sox. Matt was there in the ALDS against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yep, Game 4.
So Matt will talk about his experience there at Fenway, which will be nice to hear about. Matt will also help forecast the Red Sox in their pursuit to another World Series. So as it currently stands, Peter, the Red Sox just they just started up. It's 2-2. Well, I'm sorry. The game is not 2-2. The series is tied at 2. This is a rubber match, Game 5, before the series gets shifted to Houston for Game 6 or a potential Game 7. So it's a huge Game 5. So Matt will help talk about what the Red Sox can do to win the series and some second guesses he might have or any things around it. But before we bring on Matt, Peter, do you want to save the two of Deshaun Watson until Matt comes?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry.
Any other NFL topics you want to talk about?
I mean, we can talk about the Seahawks. I think they're way in trouble. I thought Geno Smith, I thought he was going to win, to be honest, but they're cooked. They're going to be 3-7. Russ comes back. And
say what, the defense in Seattle, they played well, in my opinion. The offense, they were slow. It was clear Geno had some early jitters, I think is probably the best way to describe
for sure.
it.
And do you see that your boy Cam Newton gets sent around by Pete Carroll?
Yeah, please. I love the let's pump up my guy Cam Newton, try to get other guys to sign him. Oh, you know Cam Newton's vaccinated now?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, of course. That's part of the propping up Cam Newton. After there's been like 28 quarterback injuries, still Cam Newton has yet to be signed. Still waiting for a team to take a chance on Cam Newton. If a team takes a chance on him, I'll shut my mouth. But the team has yet to take a chance on him or even bring him in for a workout. But none of my business. All right, Peter, let's move on to college football quickly. I know we've gotten away from college football the last couple of weeks, but I think it's imperative that we bring it back this week. Ed Oregeron, who we were very critical of when we began talking about college football a couple weeks prior, he reached an agreement with LSU. This buyout agreement will mean that he gets to leave at the end of the season. He's going to coach the team out for the rest of 2021, and he will not be the coach of LSU in 2022 and beyond. So how the mighty have fallen, Ed Oregeron and LSU, a program that many people talked about would be the next Alabama, the next big shot in the SEC, the next dynasty in college football. Well, Peter, literally like 2 years after having Joe Burrow and that whole crew they had, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all those guys that we all know about, Jamar Chase, Oregon's gone. Well, not gone yet, but he will be gone at the end of the season. And he's kind of getting trashed on his way out. The Athletic's been all over it, how he's been bringing in girls to the facility, allowing his girlfriends or different friends that are girls, whatever it may be, to practice, quote unquote, practice with the team.
Yeah, it's a bad situation.
It's a bad situation all around for Ed Oregon. And he's kind of getting buckets of crap poured on him as he walks through. And tell you what, Ed Oregon, I always called him overrated. He was underperformed last year. He underperformed this year. His team came out unprepared, not disciplined. The recruiting hasn't really fallen off. LSU can recruit itself. It's simple as that. LSU's that good of a program. But Ed Oregon has not elevated the team. And And LSU, the athletic director, and all those big shots in LSU, they realized that quickly that this guy just ain't it for the future of the program, and he is gone. So, you got any takes on that?
I mean, maybe he got exposed because of the whole team left, because obviously all that talent around him. But I think it's a little weird. We talked about this on Monday after the NBA preview. Like, why is he not just fired? Why is he coaching at the end of the year?
I agree. It's got to be some financial reason, which I don't know the details, but I'm gonna guess that LSU's like, nah, man, like you're coaching the rest of the year.
But you're LSU.
We're
you
not
have money
that
to
money.
like just be like, see ya.
But I mean, they can be cheap too. Maybe they're not prepared till. I don't know how much Ed Oregeron is making this year. I can look it up. But in terms of recruiting, though, Peter, I was talking to Brandon Carr, who is an avid college football fan. We've had him on of Roughing the Basket. So also, Ed Oregeron makes $9 million a year. This year he's making $9 million, and he is getting paid a $17 million buyout, which ranks second in the country behind Nick Saban. So that is a hefty price. But so I was talking to Carr, right? Of Roughing the Basket, of Cheap Talk Wrestling, big college football guy. And he said, look, like, I understand, like, the narrative that LSU, like, well, they lost a lot of their guys, right? Like Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, yada, yada, yada. But he said the recruiting hasn't really fallen off. They're still getting those five-star guys they want. So he just completely warrants it into the coaching aspect of it. And the one thing that he didn't point out to me was, though, that in terms of he was curious how if there was people committed to LSU now would decommit or would change their mind and stuff like that with the uncertainty of the coaching position. Now, I don't know who LSU is going to hire. I think James Franklin of Penn State would be a perfect candidate. Maybe Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss. Something like that would be really cool to see. I can't see them pulling anyone. Like, I don't think Eric Bieniemy's going down there.
What about like Kellen Moore?
Kellen Moore would be an interesting one, but I think Kellen Moore probably would want to stay in the NFL. So I think they're going to pull someone in the college rank. But so that makes this college offseason going to be crazy because LSU and USC have open positions, two highly coveted, probably top 5 programs in the country in terms of reputation.
Oh, for sure.
Now, two programs that are littered with money and talent, like littered with money and talent. And that's huge. Now, I think both will be highly coveted. So, Peter, let's say you were a hotshot, young, on the rise, NFL head coach in the wings, and you're in the collegiate ranks. Who would you rather coach, USC or LSU?
I'm going to LSU just for the recency bias.
See, I go to USC.
And I feel like the area is better.
But in terms of like the football atmosphere, the SEC, it doesn't get better than the SEC.
Yeah.
But you do have a lot of competition around there. Like you have the Alabamas of the world, you have the Auburn, like you have the whole like Texas A&M, Florida. Like you got a lot of those teams that are also jockeying for players. When it comes to the USC, they kind of own the West Coast. Like down there and like on that side of the country, USC is king. Sure, UCLA's on the rise. Sure, like Washington's been pretty good. Oregon had their.
You love your UCLA.
Oh, I love UCLA. Don't get me started on UCLA. But USC is still USC is like known as like being like the Yankees over there. Like they're just that's just USC. Like they're an organization. They're not an organization. They're just a program with decorated championships, a lot of money, and just they have the perfect weather in terms of recruiting. Like they have just a lot of things going in their favor. Not saying LSU doesn't, but dealing with Alabama and stuff every year, that kind of sucks, Peter. You're in the Pac-12. You got to deal with my guy Chip Kelly. But other than that, like you're riding pretty high, no?
Yeah, it's very true.
I mean, not saying you should not pick a job because you're afraid of somebody. Like you don't do that. You're in the wrong profession if you're not going to go to LSU because you're afraid of Nick Saban. You know what I mean? But I think that comes into play.
Yeah, but you're always going to have to hurdle them. And
I understand that. Like, I remember that was a big story when Brandon Staley took the Chargers job. And they're like, well, sucks to suck, man. You're never getting past the Mahomes and the Chiefs. It's like, you can't think like that when you get hired for a job like that. You just can't. You just have to do you and worry about the rest later. You know what I
Now
mean?
the
Like,
Chiefs, after 6 weeks, are still
and
in
now,
last place.
and now, yeah, exactly. And now after 6 weeks, the Chargers are everyone's new darlings and this and that. But like, you see how the narrative changes so quickly. Like when Staley took the job, everyone's like, "Oh, Herbert's so good, but he ain't gonna win shit. Like he's just not because he's got to deal with Mahomes. Like he's never gonna win the division. This and that." But here we are in 6 weeks, and Peter is picking the Chargers to win the AFC West.
Yep, very true.
So I think that's a fair point. Also, one quick thing to mention: Spencer Rattler, who we also talked about in our college football preview with Brandon Carr, who he did say was overrated, was benched. Spencer Rattler was benched, and today reports surfaced that he took Oklahoma quarterback out of his Twitter or Instagram.
Oh, yeah,
bio.
for sure. He's definitely getting traded somewhere. He's
transfer, yeah. So you think he's going to enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, out of the money you've fallen. He's the number 1, number 2 overall pick, and now he's getting benched.
Like not sure if he would have been the first overall pick, but he was. Todd McShay, I think it was Mel Kiper, had him as his number 1 overall prospect. And here he is.
Well, he's going to be like the top half of the first round guaranteed.
Like he's a quarterback, and like close. He might not be the number 1 prospect, but we see that every year. Like the quarterbacks they get picked in front of the better position player because that people have the need or whatever. But Rattler benched, and Oklahoma's winning without him. It's not like they're struggling without him; they're winning without him. They had that massive comeback against Texas, and led by that, I think it's Caleb Williams is his name. And it's just crazy to really think that Spencer Rattler was benched. Tell you what, I put a poll on the Daily Go Twitter page a while back, and I was just like, what are your expectations? How are your expectations in terms of Spencer Rattler? Has he met the expectations? Has he exceeded them? Has he not exceeded them? Like in the overwhelming majority said like he didn't reach the expectations. And then sure enough, shortly after I put out that tweet, he was benched. So it's just interesting to see how that really changes. Now the narrative is like,
is he a junior?
Yeah, so he still has eligibility. But if I'm him, I consider still going to the NFL draft. I consider it because even with his stock,
it'll just drop to what, like the 3rd round? Just
like
take a flyer
what's
on?
as bad as it gonna get? But we saw a guy like Jamar Chase who didn't even play last year. You know what I mean? And he was still the first wide receiver taken. So could he be in a situation like, look, you saw what I did the year before. This year, like I just got beat out, but I did what I could as a backup. And let's say Caleb Williams gets hurt or whatever, and I go in and do my job. Like I'm not like putting in my walking papers now because you don't know how the situation's going to be. Maybe he transfers to a school like, I don't know, you name it, it doesn't work out. Sure, it's worked out for like guys like Jalen Hurts. When Hurts transferred to Oklahoma, that worked out. He didn't really miss a beat. But there's been other situations where quarterbacks transfer and it just doesn't work. Like Russell Wilson ended up working out for, but other people it hasn't. So I am curious to see what happens with him in his future. I think ultimately though he won't be in the NFL draft this fall. I'm sorry, this spring, which will make the quarterback class even weaker than it already is. So teams that are needy for a quarterback, aka like the Lions or
Texans
or whoever you want to say, whoever misses out on Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers. Maybe the Giants, like, you know what I mean? Maybe you're just kind of like, ugh, like I'm going to punt until 2023. So that's our college football rant. Sorry, I had to get it off my chest. Kind of been talking about it to you like off air for the last couple weeks.
Right.
And seeing the whole Ed Oregeron stuff kind of develop. I was like, you got to do it, right?
It's just weird.
Yeah. All right. So without further ado, Peter, I think we should bring in some baseball. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Or you want to do Deshaun and Tua first?
We can get that out of the way. We'll be real quick.
All right, that's fine. All right, so we'll do a quick couple minutes on the Deshaun Tua situation. I shouldn't that I will get into shortly. So then we're going to talk some baseball, but we're going to bring on now Matt Cunha. Matt, huge fan of the show, of course, does our graphics on the weekly. Those fantastic graphics. Matt also contributes the occasional Star Wars articles. He did some Bad Batch. So if you like the Bad Batch or you like Star Wars in general, check out Matt. Check out his social medias and check out his articles on dailygoats.com. But Matt,
too bad the Bad Batch didn't live up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that, Matt. That's a topic for probably the Bo Sox, I would think. Or well, Peter, you're not a huge Star Wars guy, but I know Justin is.
No,
so
I mean Justin can talk about that for hours.
Yeah, exactly. So Matt, who we've had on, I think we had him on after week 1 of the NFL season to talk about the Dolphins' performance, and he wasn't over the moon about Tua's performance. This is before Tua got hurt. He was like it wasn't anything to write home about, but he did claim, I remember he put his feet in the sand and said, if Tua has a bad year, he's out on Tua. I believe that's what you said, Matt. I don't know the exact quote, but it was something like that. Yeah, it was something like that. So Tua ended up going down with a rib injury. Jacoby Brissett came in. The Dolphins did not perform well at all. They didn't record any wins with Brissett at the helm. They haven't lost since opening day. And Jacoby Brissett just came back this past Sunday against the Jaguars in London. They were 3.5-point favorites, and most people expected them to beat Urban Meyer's Jacksonville Jaguars because they're the Jaguars, right? They haven't won.
Not me.
Well, not Peter. But the Jaguars have lost, I believe they lost, 21 straight games before that? 20 straight games?
Oh, for sure.
It was something dumb. And the Jaguars played well, and they defeated the Dolphins. I think it was 23-20. And this got a lot of people talking about Tua's future. And a report was released by the Houston Chronicle, literally, I would say half hour before we started recording this podcast. So I will give it to you. It's John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. He says Texans Dolphins could have a Deshaun Watson deal done this week. So just to back up about John McClain, he's been writing about how a Deshaun Watson trade has been imminent. He's been writing about it for probably like 6 months. He's well respected in Houston, a well-respected NFL writer for a long, long time. The one thing I will say and will question, though, he's been saying a trade has been imminent for quite some time. So, Matt, Peter, do you think he gets traded this week or even next week? Do you think he's traded before the deadline?
I do have to say, after diving into the Houston politics and just seeing their media, I should say, not politics. John McClain's word is usually gold down there. He's usually right on the money with stuff. So even though, like, just because he's saying it, like, that just means that something's brewing. Doesn't mean it's going to happen this week. I don't think it will. It's already too late in the week for something to happen. I think, in my opinion, it would be done early in the week. But I don't think anything will happen. But I trust John McClain's reporting.
Yeah, no, I do too. The one thing that I will kind of push back on him saying is he's been saying that he's going to get traded, like now he's going to get traded now, and he just hasn't yet. Now, I wondered, the timing to the story is very peculiar in my mind. So it's coming off the Dolphins' bad loss to the Jaguars. It's their worst loss of the year. And is this Dolphins ownership saying, sorry, Flores, sorry, front office, we're doing this? Like, I understand what we did with Tua, but
I think Flores wanted it in the beginning, though.
I don't know. You see, I'm not fully convinced that Flores was on board.
I'm waiting for the day everything gets blown up where we find out who wanted to.
Yeah, no,
I think that if Flores wanted Tua, I think Flores is getting fired at the end of the year.
So you don't think Flores is in on Tua?
Right, and I think that Flores wanted Deshaun from the beginning.
So you think the general managers know? Somebody's know.
Yeah, and then the general manager's like, no, I'm not. We're not doing that. We're giving Tua another chance. And Flores.
I want to know if Chris Greer wanted Tua or if
there's
his name?
Yeah, they're Flores. There's a clear disconnection about who wants Tua, who doesn't want Tua. That's clear. Another point of view could be, what if this is
Adam Schefter is tweeting about Deshaun to the Dolphins too.
Is he? What did Schefter
just sharing his latest thoughts on the possibility. That's it. Probably just quoting McCain. I got an ESPN alert.
I got you.
Well, yeah, Denver's in the mix now too.
Yeah, Denver's in the mix, and I'm sure other teams will be in the mix as well. Like, I still think Philadelphia's looming. I do. I wonder if this report was kind of put out from McClain that the Texans are kind of trying to get a bidding war going. Like, maybe the Dolphins are the only team that have showed a real interest, and they're like, hey, Eagles, hey, Broncos, like, we're gonna move them if you don't do anything. Like,
I think that's what the big thing is. Everyone's like, Miami's like, here's our offer, and they're like, all right, we'll see what the others are offering, and it's just radio silence.
Like, don't you think if like Houston was over the moon about the offer, like they would just do the deal now? Like, they wouldn't like say, all right, we're gonna do it by the end of the week. Like,
they're not offering as many first round picks as they want.
Like, I'm sure Miami has an offer. It's probably the only offer on the table at the moment, and Houston's like, I don't really like it, and that's why I think they're propelling this report. So a team like the Eagles, who if they struggled offensively, a team like the Broncos, who Teddy Bridgewater has turtled, are like, hey, like, hang on a minute. Like, oh, Miami's offering 3 firsts, here's 4 firsts. And like that creates a bidding war. Or it could just be as simple as they're waiting to hear more about the legal trouble that Deshaun Watson's in, and maybe there's some clarity on it. And maybe there is an understanding that Deshaun Watson will be allowed to play this year. And maybe that's what they're sorting through. Maybe they're just waiting for the league to finish their investigation. Maybe it's
But they
that,
said they're not going to finish it before week 8 anyway.
So
yeah,
week 8's
I don't know
2
what's
weeks,
up with that
right?
investigation.
Yeah, week 8 is the NFL.
Yeah, and his trial is until November. I know
Yeah.
that. So
Is they actually going to trial?
it is.
I
Yeah.
haven't been following it because
Yeah,
I just don't care at this point.
I don't know the exact day in November, but it
Dolphins
is
have killed
someday in
any
November.
enthusiasm I have.
It is in November, but now the thing is, I'm shocked the NFL hasn't put him on the commissioner's exempt list. Like I'm completely shocked because
Well, maybe because like he's the fourth string quarterback, and it doesn't really
Yeah, but,
matter
like,
right now.
you still put him on the, I don't know, you still put him on the list. Like he can play right now. Like, but maybe they're like, you know what, like Houston, like he ain't playing for you, and you're not gonna play him anyway. So like we're just gonna wait to see how this goes. So if it's that, but if he gets traded to Miami tomorrow, the Dolphins have their mindset on him, obviously, and he's the starting quarterback. So then the NFL will have to step in and clear him or not clear him. So if he gets traded to Miami tomorrow, for the sake of argument, I hope not, though. I really hope not. That would annoy me. Because then, like, the podcast would be like, like we were just talking about it, you know?
You know that's how it goes.
Of course it does. But if he gets traded tomorrow, let's just say he gets dealt tomorrow. Now, does the commissioner put him on the exempt list? Does he play? Like,
No,
does he
maybe
play?
Roger. If it's as bad as we think it is, I think that
can't let
Roger
him play,
Goodell
right?
will block it. Yeah.
Yeah, they
and
can't let
be
him
like,
play.
no.
No, they'll let the trade go through, but they'll like, all right, like deal's good and shit. But like,
Yeah,
you're on the
maybe.
exempt
And then
list.
maybe he tells the Dolphins he's gonna be on the exempt list, and then the Dolphins will be like, "Oh, okay," and then just maybe
Write it
retract
out,
their
yeah.
offer or revise
Well,
it. Or
I mean,
Jacoby
even if-
Brissett for the end of eternity.
Yeah, even
I
if
kill
Watson
myself
doesn't
even
play-
more.
even if Watson doesn't play this year, like I still think Miami would be okay doing the deal. Like at this point, you're the 1-5, and like even if
Oh,
Watson
listen,
gets
I've
there-
been banging the drum for a year and a half. Listen, the Dolphins either get Watson, which is amazing, he's a top 5 quarterback, or they know that Tua is the answer, which is even more amazing. So they're in a good spot. Even though that, Matt, you don't think so. They're in a good
All right,
spot.
well, what if? Well, to play
Maybe.
devil's advocate here, what? Okay, so like the owner clearly doesn't think Tua is the answer. Clearly,
Mhm.
let's say they just try to get Watson and say Philly outbids him or Denver. Then like, what do?
Then you go to plan B. You get Aaron Rodgers. You
Plan
get
B.
Aaron Rodgers.
You see,
Aaron
I
Rodgers.
don't know.
I
You
don't
think they're
want
gonna
that
pay Aaron Rodgers
clown.
that $40 million?
Oh, you would take that clown. Come on.
You think they pay him the $40 million though and all that stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. They're in win now mode. When you saw that Jalen Waddle trade,
Rodgers is
They're
a
in win now
Miami
mode.
guy. I can't see Rodgers in Miami. Rodgers, he's going to Denver.
He might do it just to spite Tom Brady.
yeah, come on.
You think so? I don't think he.
They're gonna
I don't
go.
know.
They're gonna do.
Oh,
a
he's
splash.
petty. He's petty to the max. Just
No,
look
but
at
like-
the Bears things like you guys are talking about.
Yeah, but Miami's like glamour party. Like Rodgers is just he wants to go to Denver and look at a mountain.
That's true. Too.
Like seriously, like really, like I don't think he really gives a shit about the Miami thing. I don't know. Who knows though? I mean, at the end of the day, Rodgers is gonna go wherever he wants. So maybe if that's plan B, that's plan B. But all right, let's switch gears here. Let's talk about some Red Sox here. So Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience going to was that your first playoff game you've ever attended?
I think so. Yeah.
That was the clincher,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, ALDS clincher. I bought it as soon as they beat the Yankees. Shout out Justin. And as soon as they beat the Yankees in the ALCS, I went on SeatGeek and bought them. Got them for $88. Like it was a steal.
Oh damn.
And then I was sitting along the third base side, section 33, right against the wall in the Green Monster, like on the third base side, not on the Green Monster. It was awesome. Like you were standing the whole night, but I had a nice wall to lean up against. It was awesome. Fenway's the most electric I've ever seen it.
So it was a good experience. That the crowd was nuts. They won the
Best
game.
game I've
They
been to.
advanced. Do you think they go to the World Series?
I want to say yes. I really do. I beginning of the series, I predicted Sox in 6. So we'll see.
See, I had the Astros in 6. Peter had the Sox in 5. So Peter, you're out. You're an out.
You're out.
No, sorry.
Now, if I had to revise my pick, I go Sox in 7. Like I just truthfully believe that. I think Houston's pitching is real bad, and I think we've seen that.
Yeah, I don't.
I think the Red Sox pitching is even
No, but it's not as
worse.
not as bad.
They don't
What's
have
bad about our
bullpen.
pitching?
They
Yeah, but
do
Peter, who's
Whitlock,
got
and
good
that's it.
pitch? Who has good pitching in the league? Like
I know.
like seriously, like
I know.
Oh
there's
no.
nobody.
The best bullpen's already out.
Like
at
seriously,
Tampa.
like I agree with Matt, and I agree with you. Like that was one of the reasons why I said the Red Sox would lose, but I underestimated how bad Houston's rotation and bullpen was. And to this point, I still think the Red Sox can makeshift it with guys like Garrett Whitlock. And you got to throw Eovaldi in the pen, fine. You got to throw Tanner Hellick, fine.
Tanner Hellick.
Like you
I
can throw
think he needs
whoever
to
you
give
want.
more opportunities to Sawamura. I trust him.
You
I
see-
trust
No,
Sawamura.
you don't
He
trust
looked
him.
rough.
I do.
Put up like 5 runs.
He did good last start.
You
Not last start.
you see,
last
you know what the issue
outing.
is.
Oh,
You know
don't
what
give me
you know
Matt
what the
Barnes.
issue
You
is,
can't even
Peter.
sniff
You know
this
what the issue
roster. All right, listen, that Salmore is on this roster and Perez is on this roster and Barnes
You think
isn't.
Bar-
That says a
No,
lot about
Perez
Matt
needs
Barnes.
to get away from this team,
Well,
even though they all love him.
look, Peter, you're talking about Perez here as a lefty. They had to keep the lefty on there with Taylor.
Well,
That's why
Austin Bryce. I mean, where are you?
I mean, look, like Barnes, he throws right. He
Leading
throws,
AAA ERA.
yeah, and Barnes hasn't pitched well in the month of August, which caused him to miss out on the ALCS roster. I don't know. I still think the Red Sox pitching is good enough, Peter. The days of there's really no pitching staffs to fear. There really isn't because
Oh no, because they only pitch 5 innings at a time.
5 innings at a time. Greinke pitched like 4 outs. Like, it's weird. It's an abomination now. Like it doesn't matter. And the Red Sox pitching
I like
as
the
bad as it is.
strategy.
You see, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. Like it's
Mhm.
like really like I don't know. Peter, what's your ultimate prediction now?
Sox in 7 reluctantly.
Sox in 7, Matt.
I still say Sox in 6.
Sox in 6. Now you seen the Red Sox. So Matt's saying by tomorrow at this time, the podcast
No,
is
they
out. The
don't
Red
play
Sox are
tomorrow.
up 3-2 in the series.
Oh yes.
Okay. Tell you what, I think if the Red Sox lose today, they might be in some trouble. But I don't even write them out there.
I think whoever wins this game wins the series.
I don't
Well,
even write
Valdi's
them out,
pitching
though.
game 6 no matter what.
I don't write them
Mhm.
out though. You think if they lose, they're totally done? I don't
No.
think the no, you can't write them out.
A nice stat I saw that made me feel good was 78% of people who won game 3 who win the series. 7 game
We won
series.
game 3, so
Mhm.
and just a quick 30 seconds on the other side of the bracket here. Dodgers fighting back against the Braves. Who, if you're the Red Sox, who would you rather play?
Dodgers. I'm scared of the Braves.
Yeah, I
I'm with
agree.
Matt.
Braves are a team of destiny, I think.
But that's what I mean. Like you see, like it does. Like none of this like matters. Like Peter, all year we talked about how the Dodgers are a freaking juggernaut, and
They are a
they went over
juggernaut.
100 games. But yeah, we're just like, yeah, we'll play them over the
Remember
Braves.
the
Like,
Padres? Ooh.
exactly. Remember the Padres? Like it's just, oh, the Padres pitching staff, man. Like, oh, this and that. Here we go. And Padres didn't make the playoffs, and the Dodgers are getting outmatched by a Braves team who are missing like 3 of their best players.
Dodgers aren't that good either. Mr. Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, but they won 100 games. Like it's just,
Fair.
I don't know. All right, Matt. Well, thank you for joining. If the Red Sox are advancing to the World Series by our next episode, maybe we'll have you back on, give your input on it.
I need good juju, please.
I
Listen.
know.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you again for joining.
No problem. Thank you guys.
Go Sox.
Let's go.
All right, Peter. Great segment there from Matt Cunha here. Okay. I think it's time for the picks of the week, right?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go, baby. All right. First one for me. I'm going to go Ravens minus 6.5 over the Bengals. Oh, look, I know the Bengals, Joe Burrow, he's played well of late, but I'm just not sold on Cincinnati. I'm just still not. I think Baltimore is playing really good. And tell you what, Peter, let me make a little prediction for you now. I think the 2 best teams in the NFL is currently right now, like let's say the Super Bowl was tomorrow. The game is the Rams-Ravens. Look,
True.
those teams have been the Ravens losing all those guys in terms of their running game. They completely
We
annihilated
keep
the
missing
Chargers.
everybody. The cornerbacks, the
running backs,
line,
everything.
Running back, yeah.
The receivers, like they annihilated the Chargers in LA. Give them all the credit in the world. They're hot. They do well against AFC North opponents. I like the Ravens minus 6.5 at home against the Bengals. Zach Taylor, you still suck. Ravens minus 6.5.
That's not cool. He's gonna make the playoffs, but
He's
I
not
have
the
the
Cowboys coach.
It's true. I have the Packers minus 8. I think they're gonna steamroll the Washington football team, as you could see versus the Chiefs. They couldn't stop a lick, and they still can't stop a lick. And I'm scared for Ron Rivera's job security, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Rivera was somebody I was really buying into. Like, not gonna lie, I got on the Washington football team's bandwagon. I was like, Chase Young, that defense.
Oh, me too.
Like,
And they can't
like boom,
stop
boom,
anybody.
boom. And then like when Fitzpatrick went down, I wrote it even. I was like Heineke's fine, like this and that. And I don't think Heineke's the problem. That defense is so bad, and the offensive line has given Heineke a lot of fits. They're without Logan Thomas at tight end. They really still the run game is like nothing. So it's just. I don't think it's Rivera's fault. I just think this is a rebuilding roster that people kind of got too far.
They got to
in front of.
fire somebody, defensive coordinator at least.
Oh yeah, fair. I'm not arguing that point, but it's just at the point where I think we've kind of lost sight that they are just a rebuilding roster that exceeded expectations because of a crappy NFC East last year. Dude, pretty much. If Dak Prescott doesn't get hurt, we never talked about Washington the way we did, if we're being honest. But next one, I'm going to go Titans plus 5.5 over the Chiefs. So look, I like the Titans as an underdog here. That they're at home. The Chiefs defense has been shaky, and I think this could be the game that Ryan Tannehill finally gets on track. I really do. Despite the fact that the Chiefs played better defensively this past week, I'm still not convinced with them. I also think Derrick Henry, I think he's going to have a field day. Field day. It wouldn't shock me if he had 3 touchdowns again.
Yep, he's going to get 200 yards. That's why
Titans plus 5.5.
That's why I'm picking the Chiefs minus 5.5. I think that Mahomes is going to light up the Titans defense. And as you can see versus the Washington football team, Mahomes had a fumble in the end zone, had an interception that I don't even know who's throwing to Tyreek Hill, and he had another interception in the red zone. I think they fix up those mistakes versus the Washington football team, and I think they win pretty handily, to be honest with you. But because they need to win, they need to.
Yeah, they do.
Put their
Yeah, I think the Titans can upset them. I really do.
Oh, for sure.
We'll see how it goes. Next one, I'm going to go. This one's a little bit different, Peter. I'm going Texans plus 17.5. I like the Cardinals to win the game. I can't stress that enough. But I am. Look, the Cardinals, despite the fact that they really beat the Browns, look, Baker Mayfield wasn't healthy. Kareem Hunt got hurt. Nick Chubb got hurt. Cliff Kingsbury has COVID. Chandler Jones has been out with COVID. And look, the Cardinals have a huge Thursday night football game coming up against the Green Bay Packers. Huge. It's probably the biggest game of the year for them outside their divisional games. It wouldn't shock me if they overlooked the Texans a little bit. I think the Cardinals win, and I think they probably win by like 10 points or so, but I like the Texans to cover.
Hey, that's a fair point. That's why I'm picking the Cardinals minus 17.5. I think their offense is way too good for the Texans. They're a juggernaut. They're adding Zach Ertz as well. I think Kyler Murray is going to put up 5 touchdowns. I think they're going to win by 30 plus. I think it's going to be like the Bills, where they get blown out 40-0.
Looks like we're not going 10-0 this week. All right. No. Next, I'm going to go Colts plus 4. I'm going another underdog here against the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. 49ers, they have a lot of injury problems right now. They have some uncertainty at the quarterback position, and Carson Wentz is coming off his best performance of the season. Carson Wentz, despite the fact that he hasn't been able to string together wins for the Colts, Thursday night against the Ravens, so last Thursday, or 2 Thursdays ago, he was awesome. And I think he's going to build on that after having 10 days off. I like the Colts plus 4 here in an upset.
And I have the Falcons minus 2.5. I'm so sorry, Matt. Listen, the Dolphins have to show me a little something before they can get back on track. The Falcons in London versus the Jets can actually drive down the field. So
it's fair. And my 5th and final, I'm going to go with Geno Smith and the Seahawks plus 5. So you look at the Seahawks, it's tough to play in Seattle on Monday Night Football. It really is. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, and I'm not even sure that the Seahawks are going to win, but I like them to cover in the situation. The Saints, Jameis Winston, look, Peter, it's a coin flip of the Jameis Winston you're going to get. We've seen games this year where he's come out firing. We've seen other games where he throws the game away. I think the 12th men down there in Seattle, they are going to be fiery because they know Seattle needs a big win. And I'm not sure if they get it, but I think they cover it plus 5.
Who's your premium pick of the week?
My premium pick of the week is going to be the Baltimore Ravens minus 6.5. Thank you.
Like it. My premium pick of the week is Pats minus 6.5. Let this on record. If the Pats lose this game, I'm off of the Patriots in 2021.
Oof.
I think it's a little too short at home, and you saw Zach Wilson throw 4 picks in New York in week, what was that, 2 or 3 or whatever it is?
Week 2 or 3, yep.
Yeah, so if they lose and they don't win comfortably, like 4 points or more, they don't have to cover the spread.
If they don't cover.
No, because it doesn't matter. But like if they lose this game, I'm off of the Patriots 2021.
All right. Peter has it on the record. Now, what's your survivor pick of the week?
Arizona Cardinals.
I'm riding with you. Arizona Cardinals to the moon, baby. All right, Peter. So next week, we're going to go back to doing 1 show a week. Sorry.
Sorry, guys.
But we'll have a lot of content for that particular show. We're going to recap the games of this past week in the NFL season, update you on who made the World Series. So we'll all be waiting for that. Might even touch on some NBA action. Maybe finally we'll get to some NHL action. I'm sure there'll be some more Ed Orgeron stories that trickle out.
We're going to recap our casino trip.
Yeah, we can recap that. And yeah, it's a big week in football and just overall in the sports universe. Tell you what, Peter, and if you're a Boston fan, right? You could do the Boston parlay today.
It's true.
You could.
honestly.
I mean, you could go Celtics, who, well, I should say yesterday. On Wednesday, the Celtics play Bruins and Sox.
And don't forget the Revs, they're the best team in the MLS.
Damn right they are. They're going to win the whole thing. See you at the parade. All right, Peter, thank you for another great episode. And thank you to Matt Cunha. Shout out, Matt, for coming on. Thank you very much. Catch you next week.
Stay hot.